Welcome to the Bourbon Life Podcast, your source for all things bourbon. Join your hosts, Mark and Matt, as they drink and review bourbons, share news about upcoming events, interview the who's who in the bourbon world, and, most importantly, bring you along for the fun of living the bourbon life. Now, here's your hosts, Mark and Matt.
All right, everybody, welcome back for another episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me here tonight, live in the Bourbon Life Studios, it is my good friend, Matt. Matt, how you doing out there in the fireplace room?
Mark, I am great. It is this is kind of like Fresh Crack Friday here. This is, we haven't had a fresh show in a little bit.
It's been a little while.
Yeah,
man.
we've been a little busy. We've been recycling through some of our past favorites, but
yes. But we're here live tonight with an actual live person. No AI, nothing. I mean, this is a real guest, so this is going to be a good show, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, man. Well, I want to thank all of our sponsors, of course, Matt. So thank them for everything they do for us. We couldn't bring them on the show every week without this support of their sponsor, of the sponsor. So thank you guys for all that. Matt, with that said, man, let's just jump right in. Tell everybody who we have with us tonight.
Definitely. Joining us live here, the Bourbon Life podcast, from the road. We pinned him down. He's a working man. He took some time out of his schedule to sit down with us. We have the CEO and founder of Filmland Spirits, Troy Bolotnick. Troy, welcome on to the Bourbon Life podcast.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Matt. Mark, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, we're happy to have you on here. I've seen your stuff a couple times at the KBF, and I talked to your marketing person as well a little bit. So it was, we've talked about doing this, and now finally able to make it happen, Troy. So we appreciate you. Like Matt said, I know you're on the road working hard, man. So thanks for taking the time to. You're not our first hotel room guest, actually, believe it or not. We have had a couple, so.
Well, you're not my first hotel room podcast.
Okay,
all right. We can.
I spend about 50% of my time on the road, so it's going to happen.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Well, we appreciate you taking the time out to join us, and we got a couple of different things we're going to be drinking through tonight. So I'll just tell everybody, and Troy, I'll let you explain what it is. But the first one. This is called the Quadraforce, and this is Mr. Mysteron, right? And this is a blend of 4 different bourbons, so it's a 4-grain, if that's correct.
Yes.
94 proof, and I'll just let you take it from there. So if you want to tell us a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. So when I talk about Quadraforce, I like to say it's one of the most unique bourbons you will ever have, and you'll never have it again, because we made it by blending 4 bourbons originally distilled in 4 different states. And the result is a 4-grain wheated bourbon. And then we took that singular liquid and we put it into bottles with 4 different labels. So each one of the labels features one of the 4 Quadraforce heroes.
Okay.
And each hero represents one of the 4 states of distillation. So Kentuckiana, Tennessee Terra, Cali Comet, and Mysteron is that mystery state.
The mystery state. Okay. That's what I was going to say, because I knew you had 4 states, and it was California, Indiana, California, Kentucky, Tennessee, and then the 4th mystery state. Okay, well, that makes sense.
People ask me all the time, and I say, look, my little clue is it comes from a state whose name ends in the letter A, but it is not Indiana.
Okay, all right. Huh, interesting. Matt, well, we won't put him on the spot with that. We'll just let it. It'll remain Mr. Ron. So there you go. Well, Matt, let's talk about this one real quick. What do you get in terms of on the nose on this?
Oh,
one?
Mark, you're gonna have to go ahead. I'm sitting here running through states that end in A.
I like it, man. I mean, it's got a well-rounded nose. It's sweet. You get a lot of that, for me, vanilla nose comes through. This is, I think, minimum 4 years, right? Everything in here, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. By law, we have to say 4 years. Quadraforce, all 3 of the 4 liquids are over 5 or 6 years old, and one of them was 4 and change. So
okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, because it actually, it has the nose of a mature bourbon on it. So that's something I was looking for, because I wasn't sure in terms of the age initially when I got the bottles. And I saw that it said straight bourbon, so I'm instantly thinking 2 years at the minimum, but then saw that it was 4 years. But yeah, like the vanilla note stands out, that sweetness, a little bit of spiciness to it as well. Not like a cinnamon spice, but maybe like a baking spice of some form there. Really, really nice. Just really nice. Very pleasant. 94 proof, right?
Yes.
That we're looking at. Yeah.
94.
All right, Matt, that was about all I can do. What do you got to add to that?
Mark, you did a good job. It's no, you're right. It's good. It's full. It's rich. It has a nose to me. So Troy, you said it is a wheated mash bill. I think I probably would not have guessed that, but now that you've said it, some of the similarities that I often pick out on a wheated nose or wheated bourbon, just the way they come across on the nose.
Keep in mind that one of the 4 bourbons was a wheated bourbon.
Okay.
So by putting that in, we ended up with 4 grains.
Yeah.
And technically it's wheated at that point.
Yep. So it has the sweetness that I'll often pick up from a wheated bourbon that's almost like kind of sweet and savory a little bit, almost like some sort of a fried dough or like a pie crust apple turnover or like a cherry compote turnover type nose to it. But really good, nice and well-rounded. It's got those vanillas, some of that like creamy, like not fried cream, but like a nice seasoned cream note to it, almost like a custard type burnt sugar creme brulee kind of nose on the top with like a little bit of nutty undertone on it as well. It's really nice. I like it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Troy, anything you want to add? I know you're not sipping along with us tonight, but anything else
here with me? You guys are still just on the nose, right? You got all that.
Yeah,
off the nose?
we're just gonna we're gonna, the way we do it, we usually do nose first and then come back to the palate and the finish. So
Sure.
we were drinking 2 things, so we'll probably wait till the second round or toward the end of the first round to come back to the nose and palate. But yeah, we're just nosing on this one.
This is how I feel about tasting notes, right? We put tasting notes right on the bottle. They're on the label. That is what we taste, right? That myself and my 2 partners who do all the blending, those are our notes. But I tell people ignore them, right? Because whatever we say, then you're going to say, oh yeah, I taste that. Or whatever you had for breakfast is going to change I am so much more interested in what people get off of it than what I get off of it, right? Because I just want to know what we're doing and how it lands and how it matches up to what people are doing. And I don't like to lead the witness, as they say.
Yeah.
That makes
like
sense. One of the best feelings to be a fly on the wall when other people are drinking your whiskey and just listen to what it is that they pick up off of it.
Right. And I laugh when people say, like I was smiling, Matt, when you were talking, because and when you're done, I'll tell you what I got off of it. Right. But you were saying some stuff and I'm like, yep, that one. Yeah, that's it. So it's gratifying. It's really gratifying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Matt's our resident expert, man. So he's the palate guy for sure. Well, Troy, let's talk about you. Let's talk about your background. How was it? Well, talk about your background, where you're from, and then how you got into the whiskey world. Cause I'm curious to hear, I've not heard this story. So I'm really curious to hear this.
Sure, absolutely. I'm trying to think how far back you want me to go. Like I was born in Brooklyn.
I was born in, be like Steve Martin in The Jerk, right?
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. So, I've had a lot of careers. I started out as a screenwriter, which is relevant, obviously. And then I did just about every job there is to do in the entertainment industry. I was telling somebody today, I was a production assistant, a line producer. I did directing. I wrote commercials. I mean, there was nothing. I edited on film. I edited on digital. I did it all back then. But I left that career back a long time ago. I've been a serial entrepreneur and started 5 different companies and sold or merged them all over the years, doing different things, and done a couple of stints in corporate, including most recently as the COO of a publicly traded sports nutrition company before this. But all along, I'm a bourbon nerd. I love bourbon. And myself and one of my partners and one of my closest, oldest friends, Charlie Flint, he and I he moved from LA to Atlanta, and we both kind of really fell in love with bourbon separately and together. And so we started making at least an annual pilgrimage to the motherland, Kentucky. And so we would go there, and this was before you needed a reservation to go visit a distillery. Yeah. And we would go like crazy people and go to 5 distilleries or more a day. And which is now is impossible because of how crowded it is and how you need reservations. But we would just show up at a distillery and they're like, sure, come on in and talk. And we'd end up in the back room with the distiller, drinking whatever he made it was amazing. We fell in love with all of it, the people and the culture and the cocktails, and of course the bourbon and the art and the science of it. And on one of those trips many years ago, I said, we got to do our own thing. We got to do our own brand one day. But, he's got a family. I got a family. We both have jobs. And it just worked out that in the summer of 2020, I decided to leave what I was doing. And I said, well, if I don't do this bourbon next, I'm a big fat liar, because I've been talking about doing it. I've been saying, oh, if I only have the time and a little bit of runway, I'm going to do this. And I just said, I'm doing it. So I had been working on ideas for years. And then another friend of mine sort of got involved to help me get it off the ground. And we were banging our head against, well, what should this be? And we had some certain tenets we wanted to hit. But we didn't have the exact idea of what it was going to be.
Yeah.
But it's that point that I entered the bourbon industry and have learned a ton over the last 5 years.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you weren't a bourbon drinker your whole life. I mean, not your whole life, but I'm assuming, because most of us, like me, I mean, I was a beer guy,
Right.
Bourbon was something I drank in college, and then was really more of a beer drinker, wine occasionally, but never really was much of a bourbon guy, probably till about 8 or 9 years ago. So
yeah, I started drinking bourbon when I was like 3 or 4. And no,
yeah.
I was when I was younger. I'm not going to say how old. I was a gin and tonic guy. Because I had a friend who was 7 years older than me. He was like my older brother, so he introduced me to everything.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a gin and tonic guy, and so I became Tanqueray and tonic, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, yep.
And I even, there's a picture of myself. I did a lot of theater directing and stuff in college, and we had rap parties all the time. And I have a picture of myself with a bottle of Jack, holding it up to my mouth as if I'm drinking it. And I know for a fact, and this was 30 whatever years ago, my thumb was over the end because I didn't drink whiskey like that, right? I didn't want to drink because I was just pretending for the picture. But it was probably somewhere in the late, 2008 to 2010, somewhere in there, where I started to try bourbon. And then I had this like experience where all within a few months, I went to a friend's wedding and I was sitting at a table. Another friend of mine was a bourbon guy. And I'm like, oh, let me try that. Right. And then a week later, I was at a convention for the other industry I was in, and they brought us to a restaurant. I think it was in Vegas, and they had a bourbon table, a tasting table.
Nice.
So everybody's networking, whatever. And I'm standing at that table and I'm tasting. I'm like, this is amazing. I love this stuff. And then like a couple of weeks later, I ended up in another restaurant with other friends, and everybody was ordering bourbon, and it clicked.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then, 350 bottles on the shelf later, here we are.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah,
Troy,
Yeah.
I get it. So I didn't. I just started a podcast. I wasn't brazen enough to try to start an actual brand. So, and we'll talk about that creation of the brand here in just a little bit. But I'm always curious to know, people in the industry, when it was that you started developing that passion for bourbon. And obviously you have the passion. So, but that's really cool. That's a lot of fun. So writing, that's just kind of a crazy transition. So you're out in LA, and then you're writing, and you move all these other things, you get to other businesses, and then end up in bourbon. I mean, did you ever imagine back then that this is something you'd pursue or even dream about?
No, and I've got kids who are in college, and they're like, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? And I go, what I thought I would do in college is not what I've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So don't worry about it. Your journey is going to find you.
Yeah.
And that's, and no, I didn't, but I'm having the most fun working I've ever had.
That's awesome.
Right? It's hard. I'm not going to pretend it's easy. I'm not going to pretend every day is a picnic, but even when it's not, I go, oh, I'd so much rather be dealing with these issues than the ones I used to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tomorrow I'm going to be talking about bourbon with people on a podcast.
See, I mean, that's great, because I'm still in the corporate world as an attorney, and man, it's just like one of these days, maybe I'll just be able to make that transition completely and move on and give up on the professional career and all the stuff that comes with that.
It's funny. My sister's an attorney, and I'm always saying to her, I just should have been a lawyer. It would have been so simple. I would have been really good at it, because everybody tells me I would have been a great lawyer. And, I'd be relaxed right now instead of being 55 and starting another business. And, and my sister always says to me, I wish I'd done what you do. You follow your dreams all the time. You try everything. You take risks. I'm just a lawyer.
Yeah,
Right?
no, absolutely. I completely agree with her. So after doing it for 30 years, Troy, I'll vouch for that for sure. So I'm kind of curious. I was on your website, and I was looking at your team members and everything, and you each have these creative little titles that you have, and yours, I'm going to make sure I read it right. The Creative Crusader.
Yes.
So I'm curious, can you kind of just talk about that and how that applies to who you are and what you do in the industry and with your brand?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Look, everything I've always done, I sort of say to people, because I has been a mix of like creativity, technology, and business. And I am someone who picks something up, I get interested in it, and I make myself an expert as quickly as I possibly can. And I go deep, right? I always tell people I have a habit of ruining my hobbies by turning them into businesses, right? And I do that. So I promise I'm not going to do that with this one. Right? This one is all in. But when we were making those, I remember it was 4 or 5 years ago when we were coming up with those, and we just thought it would be fun. Charlie's very clever and very creative. He was my screenwriting partner.
Oh, okay. All right. Gotcha.
So we would write a lot of stuff together and separately, but and he came up with I think he called it the Libations League. I'm like, all right, well, if you're going to call us that, then you need to come up with superhero names for us. So then we went into our process and came up with all that kind of stuff. And just, I think at the heart of who I am is a creative person. And that's all I ever have wanted to be. Everything I do, I look at as creative, right? If I'm sitting here and I used to program computers, that was creative to me, right? If I'm writing, that's creative to me. If I'm producing a commercial, I'm being creative because you're creating literally. And that's how I always see myself, whatever I'm doing. And that's what fulfills me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. I got a piece of cork. I broke the cork off in that bottle.
Oh, did you?
Earlier, I strained it out, and then I was like, wait a second, I got a piece of cork here.
I wonder why my glass was looking a little chunky.
Matt, I tried to strain it, man. I did the best I could, but what can I say? I had to work today,
Yeah.
So I was reading an article too, Troy, and I can't remember where it was or where it was printed, but they called you a disruptor. And that's kind of curious. I like that. So can you talk a little bit about that and how you see yourself as a disruptor in the bourbon industry with this brand?
Yeah, sure. So I think it was Medium magazine or Authority. I forget what exactly.
I can't remember which one. Yeah, I can't remember.
Right. And I remember when they wanted to do that article, I'm like, I'm a disruptor. I am. And then our marketing person had me like, just dig into my past and tell her everything I've done. And she's like, well, you changed the way this works in the world, and you changed the way this works, and you change, whether I succeeded or failed, I changed things. And she's like, it's kind of what you've been doing. And I didn't set out to be a disruptor in this business. I set out to stand out so that consumers would see us and give us a try. And in the end, what it ended up being is somewhat disruptive because of our labels. Yeah. Because, for me, I spent a lot of time in the bourbon aisle, right? Yeah. Walking up and down, looking at it going, okay, why do all the bourbon labels have to be brown and beige with pictures of dogs or birds or old men like me, right? Right. Or a colonial guy. Why can't bourbon labels and packaging be like wine and craft beer and rum and vodka and tequila, where they can be bright and colorful? And I said, I want to make a bourbon where the package is bright and colorful and eye-catching, and it's immersive and it's story driven, right? But there's still ultra premium award-winning liquid inside, right? And as a result, we scare some people, right? There are traditionalists who are going to get left behind, in my opinion, who are like, that's not real bourbon. You can't be real bourbon if you're doing packaging like that. And I'm like, well, San Francisco World Spirits Competition, Global Spirits Awards, and thousands and thousands of followers and customers who've reached out to us say differently, right? Is that we can have fun, immersive packaging, so we are different. And I will say in the last couple of years, I've seen a lot more color on labels since we began doing this.
I would agree with that as well, there has been that shift. So you guys were definitely at the forefront of that, because it's just been recently over the last couple of years that I've really noticed that brands are out there trying to grab attention. And I think it's a reflection of the shifting, interest in the different generations now, especially Gen Z, millennials, Gen Z's, coming of age and drinking as well, but they're not interested it's like back in the 70s, when bourbon went away because nobody wanted to drink what their parents were drinking. So,
Right.
You kind of go through those cycles, and you got to attract these younger people into it, and you got to do it in a way that's going to catch their eye and make them wonder, right? So
what's interesting is, look, I'm out here all the day. I'm in Michigan right now. I'm going to stores all day. I'm meeting buyers and owners and all this thing. And it's true. There's definitely some negative pressure on the bourbon market. I like to say we're the antidote to the bourbon correction. Right?
Nice.
And so everybody's out there saying, well, it's Gen Z. Gen Z doesn't drink. And it's actually not true. If you look at the data, right, from March of 2023 to March of 2025, Gen Z of legal drinking age have increased participation by 30%, from 46% to 76%. Okay. The difference is what they're drinking, right? And what all the studies show is they're looking for products that are retro, that are nostalgia, that are about more than the liquid, that are part of a community they want to be part of. Right? It has a story to it. I mean, when I read these articles, I'm like, you're literally describing Filmland. And that's why we have such a strong appeal with what I like to say is Gen Z and Gen Z adjacent, right? So millennials that, are right on that border, and even Gen Xers like me who think we're still, 20 years old, right? And love Star Wars and Marvel movies and all that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
The cool thing that I noticed about your labels is that each one tells a story, not just about the company, about Filmland, because if you did that, it would just be one story on all the bottles, and there's really no reason to look at anything else. But each one tells a little bit of a story or something different about what's in that specific bottle. So it almost makes it like somewhat of a collector item. One might say, to look at all the different labels and have each one say a different story, rather than a large brand where if it's a rye, it's got a green label. If it's a bourbon, it's got a blue or a brown label, and that's kind of it. Other than that, the label just stays the same. The color changes. And so on each one of yours, it's specific to what's in that particular bottle that you're looking at. And so it gives more reason to look at it, more time to pause, more time to take it in.
Yeah. So we create an original script for every one of our products. And it's a movie that is meant to pay homage to the B movies of the mid 20th century, like robots and monsters and big over the top characters and plots. And then we create that original poster that is for the movie, and that becomes our label.
Okay.
Right. And so people we used to say this, and then we kind of dropped off, and then we started hearing it back from people who are seeing our brand, but they refer to us as the adult cereal box. Right, because when you're a kid, you're reading the back of the box, and you're eating your cereal. Now you're sipping your bourbon, and there's a lot of content just on the bottle. Forget about the website where we have trailers and interactive storyboards and script pages, and you can download the movie poster. On the bottle, there's a synopsis, the characters and their bios and headshots. Right, that's all one side of the label. The other side of the label is all about the award-winning liquid. So it is who we are, our tasting notes, and then we try and be as transparent as possible. So there's a section there. It looks like movie credits on the side of the label.
Oh yeah.
But it's got as much transparency as we can offer. So not just where it's bottled and where it's distilled. The mash bill is on there, all the way down to the char of the barrel in which it's aged.
Yeah, that's very, very cool. Mm-hmm. Well, Troy, I tell you what, we're at the end of round one here. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk about the palate and the finish on this one when we come back in round two. And we'll talk more about the brand as well once we get back. But we'll get a quick word from our sponsors. We'll be back with more with Troy Bolotnick with Filmland Spirits in just a minute.
Three Chord's line of whiskeys embody the spirit of creativity. The whiskey is a true collaboration between producer and composer Neil Giraldo and master blender distiller Ari Sussman. The Three Chord team of expert blenders, coopers, and sensory professionals have developed a multi-step process they called Perfectly Tuned Taste. This process begins by carefully selecting the finest bourbon and rye whiskeys from Kentucky, Tennessee, and Indiana, and then blending them together. Find out more about the whiskeys and distribution in your area at www.threechordbourbon.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back for round two of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me here still in the Bourbon Life Studios tonight is my good friend, Matt. Matt, welcome back to the studios.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me back in our studios.
Well, who else would I have here, Matt?
I don't know. It's been a bit. I don't know what all you've been doing in the studios while I've been gone.
Well, we've been doing some auditions. No, I'm just kidding.
Fair enough.
I've been working on AI. I just can't seem to create those perfect AI characters for us. But one of these days, maybe we'll figure that out. We're having a fun time tonight, man. Great show, great first pour, man. So I'm curious to jump into the palate and the finish on this one. But real quick, just want to thank all of our sponsors for everything they do for us. So thank you guys. Couldn't bring you this show every week without all their support and help. Matt, with that said, remind everybody who we have with us tonight.
That's right. If you are just joining us on the Bourbon Life Podcast, don't know why you would be, but our guest is the same as he was in the first round. Troy Bolotnick is the CEO and founder of Filmland Spirits. We caught him on the road, and he is here with us on the Bourbon Life Podcast. Troy, welcome on back.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm having a great time.
Well, we appreciate you joining us, man. On the road, in a hotel, hardest working man in the bourbon industry, ready to take a few minutes and hang out with us. So we appreciate you doing that for sure, and happy to finally get you on the show. So this is a good time, and man, the nose on that Quadraforce was really good. So let's talk about some of the palate and the finish. Matt, what are you picking up on this one? This is a 4-grain. Just to remind everybody, 4-grain. Blend of 4 different bourbons from 4 different states: Kentucky, California, Tennessee, and a mystery state that ends in the letter A, not Indiana. 94 proof. Now that I've said all that, Matt, when you get in the palate finish.
So as it's been sitting in the glass, some more of the nose has opened up. It's become a little bit more picking up like more green apple. Some more apple notes. And I think that, to me, that really comes across on the palate with this one. It has a lot of caramel apple, almost like a little bit of apple cider type flavor and aroma. Good amount of spice on it. I'm looking here through some of the mash bills, and there's a little bit of rye. One of them's 12%, 10%. One of them, we've got some wheat in there. So there is a little bit of spice. I think that rye kind of comes in a little bit peppery, and then the wheat, for me, sometimes wheat has a more delicate, not peppery, spicy note, but just like a more cinnamon baking spice kind of comes through with that. There's a little bit of orchard fruit notes, kind of think something of like a lighter red wine, kind of taste and aroma on it as well, with just a good long, like nice honey, little bit of oak on the finish as well, but like nice, good, like sweet tea kind of long finish, tea notes, honey, almost like hot toddy kind of flavor on the finish. But really, really nice at 94 proof. I think this brings a lot of punch. It brings a lot of flavor, very approachable. I think it's a really, really lovely pour, especially that the note of the wheated bourbon on there, I think, is really nice. I think that adds a lot to the mash bill and to the recipe.
Yeah, I agree, Matt. I mean, the thing, I guess I was kind of surprised by what I thought. You said spiciness. It does have that pepperiness to it. I wasn't expecting that, just because when you nose it, you do get a lot of sweetness. And then when you taste it, there's that sweetness, but then that spiciness does kick in, which is nice. It's a pleasant surprise. Like, I wasn't expecting that. And sometimes wheat I think it tricks my palate to make me think I'm drinking something higher proof, because there's a hint of spiciness to it sometimes. And Matt, you talked about that, not like a peppery, but maybe a cinnamony kind of aroma or flavor or something like that. But yeah, I can see what you're talking about. But that spiciness, it was a surprise. It was a pleasant surprise. I really like it. The oak a little on the finish as well. Not overwhelming, not too much. Just a very, very well-rounded pour from beginning to end, from the nose to the palate to the finish. Man, I really, really like this. But I think to me, with that little hint of spiciness, I think it maybe drinks a little bit warmer to me than 94 proof. Not much, but I think I was a little surprised at that, which is a pleasant surprise for me. So very nice, Troy.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Those are great comments.
Yeah. Anything else? I mean, I know I asked the first time on the nose, but I mean, if there's anything else you wanted to throw in there, things that people have said to you that stand out that you want to share.
I mean, this gets almost universally great reaction when I'm out there tasting people on it, whether it's I'm doing a tasting in a store or meeting with store owners and that kind of thing. And my blending partners, so Charlie Flint and Steve Canepa are two of my partners here in Filmland, and the three of us do all the blending. We taste every barrel. We have this whole database of barrel progression and notes that we keep for every barrel that we own and every barrel we pick. But we do our blending together, and we have a great time doing it. It's one of my favorite things to do, and we get to do it 4 or 5 times a year. But they give me a hard time about my tasting notes. We give each other a hard time because we'll come up with some wacky stuff. But I remember we were sitting and we were blending this, and when we got to this blend, I was sitting there and I was like, I know exactly what this reminds me of. And and Matt, you hit on a lot of it on your nose side of it, but it's Vienna finger cookies.
Oh, okay.
You guys know those cookies?
I've seen them, but I don't think I've had them.
Right. It's in a red package. They were more popular years ago, but they were always my favorite. And they're a vanilla cream cookie. Okay. And they had, it's a like a yellow cake, white cookie kind of thing. Okay. It's not like a chocolate cookie or anything. And it's got a little bit of spiciness to it, and that creme brulee kind of creaminess to it. Mm-hmm. And that's it. Just when I drink Quadraforce, that is all that comes back to me is, and that's what I think we're very, as humans, like smell and taste and hearing. You hear a song from high school, and suddenly you're back in high school, right?
Yes.
You taste something from back when, college, we all ate Vienna finger cookie, and it just takes me there. And so that's always what I get from it. Or like a Little Debbie snack cakes, oatmeal pie.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I get off of this, like through and through. And I love it. This Quadraforce makes an amazing old fashioned.
I was thinking about that because I'm a big old fashioned fan. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking as I was sipping on this, I'm like, man, this would be really nice in a cocktail, especially an old fashioned. Yeah. I'm going to try that later tonight, Troy. So let's jump back to the brand and talk about it. We talked about your past, your background, and how you got into it. So just share the story, if you will. Kind of, you talked about having a passion and coming to Kentucky, but kind of pick up from there, if you would, and talk about the actual brand and how you guys decided to really jump in and do it.
Yeah. So we hit that point, like I was mentioning before, where I said, all right, it's now or never. I've got to do this. And I got together with another friend of mine to help me get it off the ground. And we were trying to figure out how to take this idea of an eye-catching, bright packaging that is genuine, right? Not just for the sake of it, but something meaningful behind it. And we would come up with something. We'd think, this is brilliant. We love it. And when we wake up the next day, I'm like, why did we like that? Right. Or we'd come up with something and go, oh, I really like this. And then we'd go trademark search as well, there's already another brand doing that or whatever. And really like wit's end kind of thing. And then he's a podcast host also, right? Okay. One of his many different things he does. So in our conversation, he started just spontaneously interviewing me. Right. We weren't recording. There were no microphones. We were just sitting in his backyard, and he starts interviewing me, and he stopped me and he goes, the passion that you're talking about writing and the movies, Troy, is the same passion you talk about bourbon. Let's put them together.
Yeah.
Right. And Filmland came pouring out after that. And then at that moment, we were like, well, we want to have a big playground. We want to be able to be as wild and fun as we can and have a big playground. So let's do B movies because we can do so many different. And as soon as we said that, Rise of the Robots came out of my mouth. I was like, it just hit me like that was the first title. That was the first product concept that we came up with. And actually the very first version of that product, that's one of our flagship rye and our cast strength rye, I called it Rise of the Robot Bartenders because that's what the story is about. The story is about an uprising of robot bartenders. And because it also has that rhythm of a B movie, like Attack of the Killer Tomato, right? Rise of the Robot Bartenders. Eventually, I was outvoted, and bartenders got taken off the label because we couldn't fit it. Right? Well, it became Rise of the Robot.
We should note here, Troy. I don't mean to interrupt you, but we should note that it's not Rise R-I-S-E, it's Rise R-Y-E-S. So the play there on it would be the rye. Yeah. Whiskey. Sorry, go ahead. I just wanted to make sure we got that across because that's very clever. That's exactly clever.
And so once that happened, we just were like this, and I'm checking the trademarks and everything looks good and it just kind of flowed from there. And that I think that was in like November or December of 2020, and then I locked myself in a room for a month or so and wrote a business plan.
Wow.
And then worked with that same friend, and we went through it, and then it's like, well, I've got some money to put in and I've got some friends who are going to put some money in, but I got to go raise some money because this is not an inexpensive thing to do. And then that's what I started doing. And then I met Steve, who's now my partner, Steve, and he came in. He's still our lead investor, and we've become really good friends. And he is a whiskey expert, nice. And is amazing with it and knows so much about it, and just kind of took it from there. And then I met a couple of people from the industry, Kristen Kilpack, my head of sales, and Daniel Clark, my head of marketing. I just got introduced to them. And they loved it, and they joined in, and it just kind of became a thing from there.
Yeah, I mean that's a great story. It's funny. I'm just curious, what was it a personal interest of yours, like the B movies? What was it that made you just say, this is the way we're going to go?
Because I wanted to have a playground to be fun,
okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right? And I thought, I don't want to box us in to something that we're going to, not be able to do an endless amount of ideas on.
Sure. Okay.
And there are certain B movies growing, like I mentioned Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, because my friends and I would watch that endlessly. And it was so silly. It was fun. And the Evil Dead movies we loved, right? And just that kind of thing. And a couple of the movies I wrote, unfortunately, are B movies, but they weren't intended to be B movies. So I guess I had to stick with that.
Oh man. Well, hey, it happens to the best of us, Troy. We give it our best shot. Sometimes that happens, but no, I just think it's really cool that you do that. And that makes sense to me now, because you said it's your playground, but going back and explaining that now it makes sense because it's just wide open. I mean,
right.
And being a creative guy, like you said, obviously that just opens so many more opportunities for you guys to be creative. But you said you sit down, you write the script, and you have the because your website, you've got all that. You've got the movie posters, you got trailers. I mean, you've got everything on there, right?
Yeah. We've got interactive storyboards. You can read some of the pages from the script, watch the trailer, download the poster. I mean, there's a ton of content there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, do you guys design these labels yourself in-house, or do you have somebody that works with you to do that, or how do you do that?
Yeah. So the way it works is I'll typically, we have a very long list of ideas that we've come up with.
Yeah.
And so like Quadraforce, for example, the very first business plan I did, Quadraforce was an idea on there.
Okay.
Right. I knew I didn't have other product names. I had Rise of the Robots and one other product name that became something completely different, and Quadraforce. And I knew I wanted to blend 4 bourbons and have a superhero team with 4 people. And that sat for like 3 years, right, until it came back. So we have a long list of those kind of ideas.
Yeah. And you launched, was it 22? Is that right? You guys actually.
So we launched in Kentucky and California in September of 2022, home of bourbon and home of the movies.
Yeah. Awesome.
We're launching in our 19th state as we speak right now, which is Texas.
Wow. Congratulations. I mean,
thank you.
That's big. So, well, Matt, we probably need to talk about what we're having in this round. So let's do that before I start asking more questions, because I was getting ready to start down a rabbit hole. So this is round number 2 for us. This is Moonlight Mayhem 2. And this is called the White Port Wolf. So I love it. And this is also 94 proof, but I'll let you, Troy, if you want to tell everybody what's actually in the bottle, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So our flagship bourbon is called Moonlight Mayhem, a saga of werewolves and bourbon. It's a 94 proof bourbon that won a double gold medal at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. And so we decided we wanted to do our first finished product. And we went looking for a lot of things, and I found this white port that I really liked. And I was like, let's go find the barrels. So I'm like, Charlie, because he runs a lot of operations for us, I go, find the barrels. And he did. And he got us those barrels, and we put our Moonlight Mayhem in there, and we let it age to 7 years and finished it for 9 months. Okay. So we had, right. So regular Moonlight Mayhem, everything we put in a bottle is always 4 years. Depending on the batch, it's going to be 4, 5, 5.5, sometimes 6 years. But we made sure this stuff was 7 years old, finished it for 9 months in those white port barrels. And I'm super excited because about a week ago, we found out that at the TAG Global Spirits Awards, this won a double gold medal.
Wow.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's huge. And this is this one in Indiana? Is that right?
Yes. So our 4 core products are Indiana. They're MGP juice.
That's what I thought. Right. I wanted to make sure I had that right. So it is Indiana juice. Yeah. But yeah, Moonlight Mayhem. I mean, that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. So then it's not only our first finished bourbon, it's our first sequel.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
The story of Moonlight Mayhem is it takes place like in a world where werewolves are the dominant species on the planet. And our hero, Tommy, who's on the label there, he's a human and he's a busboy who works at the bourbon dive bar called The Den, where all the werewolves hang out on Hollywood Boulevard. And he goes into work one night and he sees this beautiful woman at the bar, and they look at each other and they fall instantly in love, except she turns out to be the sister of the leader of the pack. And now she's got to decide whether she wants to marry him or have him for lunch, right? And at the end of that movie, they're being chased out of town by her brother, who's the leader of the pack, who does not approve of this interspecies marriage, right? And so they escape town with their Moonlight Mayhem bourbon. The sequel, Moonlight Mayhem 2, picks up where they have fled to a disused winery in Napa Valley, where they encounter the mythical, legendary, fearsome White Port wolf. And they have to figure out, are they going to fight her? Are they going to become her ally and fight against her brother with him? And the story goes from there.
I love it.
Tale as
I'm
old as
go
time.
back and look at. What'd you say, Matt?
It's a tale as old as time, right? I like it.
Matt, what do you pick up on the nose on this one?
I think before we even talk about the nose, we got to talk about the beautiful color on this one.
For sure.
It's just such an absolutely lovely, dark, rich color on it. And if the color could convey anything across the nose, it definitely would, because the nose on this is rich. It's fruity. That White Port is definitely apparent right up front. There's that almost like sweet and kind of sour note that comes across from a White Port to me. Then it's kind of chocolatey, a little bit of like cocoa notes on there. There's definitely a sweet richness, berries, sweet grapefruit. It's really nice. The bourbon shines through. Some of that like sweeter corn, or that corn content comes through. There's a little bit of spice near the end, rounding it out. It's just got this really, really full, thick nose that it kind of smells. I don't know if this is really a thing, but smells like what it looks like with that beautiful kind of rich auburn color. It just really like kind of conveys this full bodied sweetness and kind of like savory, sour notes as well to it. I think it's really, really nice on the nose.
Matt, it almost reminds me of a dessert. I mean, it's like it's got that sweetness, almost like a brown sugary sweetness to it, with that fruitiness that you talked about from that White Port, I think. And that combination of flavors, plus the, just the underlying notes from the bourbon itself with that vanilla kind of caramel mixed in. But that, and to me, it's almost like a rich, just very rich, like a rich, almost dessert-like sweet, with a hint of spice. Like you said, there's a touch of spice on there, but again, 94 proof, man, this nose is really nice, Troy.
Thank you. We're going to have Matt write our tasting notes from now on, but we're going to need a bigger label.
Telling you, he's the ace, man. He definitely knows his stuff. So there's no doubt about that for sure.
Well, what's cool about White Port Wolf, or one of the many things I think is great about it, is, we wanted it to be around for Halloween, which in this industry means you got to release it in May.
Yeah.
Right. Because by the time it gets to all the states and the distributors,
right,
and, all of that. And so, but then this summer was a very challenging summer in a lot of states, because we heard, hey, it's so hot. People aren't drinking bourbon up here, right? Wherever you happen to be. And I'm not naming names, Michigan, which is where but you got to let people. Oh, and Moonlight Mayhem White Port, you said dessert. I feel like it's a really summery, refreshing bourbon.
Gotcha.
And so it worked really well. And I'm like, well, try this one.
Yeah.
Because this is a very refreshing bourbon as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, the nose is almost like sangria, kind of reminiscent a little bit.
Well, then I guess I'm way off, guys.
No, it's great. I think the decision to use White Port barrels is really nice. I think it adds a lot to it, whereas something else might fight a little bit with the bourbon that you put in. It really brightens it up, but at the same time, that the 75-21-4 recipe still comes across some of that spiciness, that good rich bourbon. You can tell that there's a good, well mature aged product in there.
Yeah.
For me on the nose, and I won't skip ahead, but a little at the beginning of the palate, I get very distinctly not green grapes, but the skin of green grapes. You know how when you kind of get the skin of a green grape, so it's got a little more sourness than the flesh, which is a little more sweeter.
Uh-huh.
I get that on the nose, and I get that on the beginning of the palate as well. To me, it's like just radiates that.
Yeah. Well, I really like the nose on this one. We'll talk about the palate and the finish. And I tell you, we're actually at the end of round 2 already, believe it or not. I'm not sure how we did that, but I say we take a quick break, get a word from our sponsors. We'll come back with more on third round with Troy Bolotnick with Filmland Spirits in just a minute. Welcome to the kitchen table at James B. Beam Distilling Company, where every visit is a celebration of tradition and flavor. Did you know that the kitchen table is nestled right within the heart of the distillery? That's right. You can experience the essence of James B. Beam's legacy while savoring their delectable dishes. Join them every Wednesday through Sunday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. for a culinary journey like no other. Planning a special event? Let the kitchen table be your host, creating unforgettable memories for you and your guests. And don't miss their upcoming Claremont Supper Club event on November 20th, featuring the release of the new Knob Creek 21-year-old bourbon. For more information and reservations, visit beamdistilling.com. The kitchen table at James B. Beam Distilling Company. Come as a friend, leave as family. All right, everybody, welcome back for the third and final round of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me here tonight, live in the Bourbon Life Studios, otherwise known as my basement, it is my good friend, Matt. Matt, how you doing, man?
Mark, I'm great. We've got the cobwebs, I think, pretty appropriately dusted off here after a nice little break. Little rest and rejuvenation for the podcast, but we're back. We're live.
Yeah, man.
We're doing it.
I got the fireplace on for you, too. It's the first time the fireplace has been on this year, Matt. So,
what an honor.
Nothing but the best for my buddy Matt.
Oh,
I'm just telling you. Yeah. What can I say? Well, we're having a great time tonight, man. We're drinking some really good stuff. I'm curious to jump into the nose and the palate on this one here in just a few minutes. But before we do that, let's thank all of our sponsors. Thank them for everything that they do for us. Couldn't bring you this show every week without all their help and support. So thank you to all of our sponsors. Matt, with that said, you want to tell everybody who we have with us tonight?
That's right. Joining us and you all out there listening this morning, this evening, this afternoon, whenever it is you are getting your Bourbon Life podcast on, is the CEO and founder of Filmland Spirits, Troy Bolotnick. We've got him back for the third and final round. Troy, how's it going out there?
It's going great. I am having a great time and enjoying myself with you guys.
Awesome. Well, we've not lost a guest yet, so thanks for sticking with us, Troy. No Wi-Fi issues there at the hotel. This has been great. I shouldn't have said that. I probably just jinxed us, man. Damn it. I hate it. When I do that. No, we're having some fun. I wanted to talk to you when we were talking about the Quadraforce, because that's a blend of 4 different bourbons. So I'm kind of curious in terms of your blending process, how you guys do that, how you work together, who does one of you take responsibility and everybody chimes in, or how does that work for you guys?
It's usually just a Home Depot bucket and a rusty fork. And that's how we blend. No,
that's awesome.
So it's funny. I always say it's a democracy. We all vote. And then they go, yeah, until we have a tie. And then you decide, Troy. But it really is. There are times where people, because it's easy to just put people in a box, will refer to me as the master blender. We are definitely a group of 3. And I'm never going to do something like if Charlie and Steve are like, absolutely not, right? No, I don't get, but it's very much a like, well, you know what? Well, let's go with you on this one, right? I think you've got it right. And we each have very different palates. Mm-hmm. And we each lean different ways on things. And Steve has a lot more Scotch experience than Charlie and I, for example. He's a big Scotch guy, and that always brings a different perspective to things. And so typically what we do, like I said, we pull samples all the time. We're tasting constantly. We have these times where we get together and we will taste through all samples and we'll make extensive notes. And it's like a round of Jeopardy, Final Jeopardy, right? Because we all taste and then we're quiet and we sit there and we make our notes, and then we all look up and like, who wants to go first? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we're not allowed to talk, because if you say anything, you're going to plant ideas in the other person's head, right? You don't want to say banana, because then we're done. We're just tasting banana the whole time, right? They give me a hard time because I won't even let us listen to music, because it distracts me and I can't concentrate. And I love music, right? But then if there's a lyric that mentions a smell or a food, I'm like, I'm done. That's all I'm thinking about, right?
That makes sense.
But, we will get together, we will taste all of that, and then we have our core products, which we make constantly, and we have a very specific flavor profile we're always trying to hit.
Okay.
And we've gotten to the point now when we taste certain barrels, because we're tasting all of this as just single barrel cask strength. right? That's how we taste everything. But we have learned now, like, oh, I know where this barrel belongs.
Yeah.
Right. I know, and there are some barrels that are stinkers, right? That's just how it works out. And they're sour and they just don't work. But I also know when we end up with one of our core blends that tends to be a little too sweet, if we introduce that more sour barrel, it's going to take it right to that level where we want it, and things like that, right? Mm-hmm. We know the certain mouthfeels each of our product have for us, and we know when we hit a barrel that's got that kind of oil, viscous, creamy, we know where that belongs, and things like that. And so we will come up with our batches in a test environment, right? And then of course it's going to change when we blend the full barrels and everything. But then we will be at the blending facility and we'll taste it and test it as it's going and make sure that it's exactly what we want it to be before it's going to go in the bottle.
Yeah. So I'm kind of curious. You said this the Moonlight Mayhem in the White Port. So that's your first finished product that you've done. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm curious, what was it that made you guys decide, after doing other releases without the finish, what made you say, you know what, let's just give this a try?
Right. Well, we always knew we would do it. And we want to experiment as much as any bourbon company wants to experiment, right? We want to try new things. And I guess we did the 4 core products. We have Moonlight Mayhem, 94 proof Moonlight Mayhem Extended Cut, which is our cast strength, gold medal winning bourbon. We have Rise of the Robots, 94 proof rye, Rise of the Robots Extended Cut, our cast strength rye, right? And we said, what are we going to do next? Are we going to do what we did? Are we going to do, and Quadraforce came first. Right. So Quadraforce, I was like, I'm ready to do this. Let's do this. I've been thinking about this idea for 4 years.
Sure.
And it took a long time to find all those barrels and to find ones that made sense and I got samples and we did sample blends to make sure it was going to work. But it was a huge risk, right? Because we were taking these 4 different mash bills and mashing them together. Right. And then so after before Quadraforce, we had done a Kentucky straight 9-year-old bourbon called Town at the End of Tomorrow, which we ran out of very quickly. That was a huge hit and my favorite story that we've done. But we knew we wanted to do finish one day, and it just naturally, both for business reasons and for creative and tasting reasons, because when we released Quadraforce, which was last September, that's just about the time when we said, well, if we're going to do a finished bourbon as our next product, and we knew we wanted to do our first spring release, like we better get this stuff in the barrels. So it was actually a couple months before that we put it in the barrels. And then it's funny, I always tell people with White Port Wolf, we tasted it after 3 months. So I think November of last year was the first time we tasted it. Like in earnest we tasted along the way, but then of earnest of saying, hey, is it ready?
Yeah.
We tasted in November and it was amazing and we loved it. And we were like, yeah, but can it get better if we leave it a little longer? And I'm like, let's leave it a little longer. And I tasted it again, like January or February, and it wasn't as good.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh my God, what did we do? Right? We've got gallons and gallons of gallons. Did we just throw out all these tens of thousands of dollars? And I'm like, all right, everybody calm, leave it in the barrel longer. Yep. And the next like serious tasting of it was May or late April of this year.
Yeah.
And at that point it had been in the barrels for 9 months. And we tasted it and we were like, oh my gosh, it's so much better than it was at 3 months.
Wow.
Right. So we got lucky. We're experts right now. So,
yeah.
And it was that moment we're like, take it out of the barrels, take it out. Don't leave it a minute longer. Right. It's amazing right now. And so, and that worked for our business plan too. Cause like we've got to bottle it if we're going to release it.
Sure.
And so we bottled it in early May of this year, I think, or late April. And it just worked out great. We were so happy with how it came out. And the fact that we got that double gold last week was really gratifying.
Yeah, man. I mean, congratulations again. That's pretty awesome. No doubt about it. So when you're blending the barrel, I mean, what kind of barrels, not barrel size, how many barrels typically go in? Sure. Do you have a standard that you guys work with when you're doing that?
Yeah, it varies. So it's been anywhere from 7 to 14. Mm-hmm. And it started, our first few batches were all 7 or 8. Uh-huh. And then we started going to 10, right? And 14, we changed bottling facilities this year, and 14 was kind of the limit of the facility we were at before. And so we wanted to do bigger batches, but we had to stop there. So we haven't gone over 14 at this point, except technically speaking, White Port Wolf, because our new facility, they have larger tanks and their tanks can circulate. So we can mix 2 tanks together and things like that. So White Port Wolf, 21 53-gallon barrels that were 7 years old. So it's clearly not 53 gallons in there.
Right.
Went into 17, whatever it is, 60-gallon wine casks. And that's basically, and then we blended those together. So that's our largest. Let's see, am I telling the truth? Quadraforce was larger. Quadraforce was 24 barrels. Okay. 50-gallon barrels. 50, so it was slightly larger. Right. But we did it because we had the new tanks, we did it in 2 different tanks of 12 barrels and brought them together.
Very nice. Matt, let's talk about the palate and the finish on this Moonlight Mayhem to the White Port Wolf. What do you get on that, man?
To me, it has like unmistakable White Port notes right up front. There's like a sweet, sticky, sour note. Sweetness is definitely orchard fruit, berries, like sweet apple turnover. On White Port, I always get like this, like a Mexican cocoa or almost like a coffee or cocoa type note on it as well. There's just this like really rich, almost dry, not super sweet note that accompanies a lot of the sweetness that people pick up on a White Port. But Troy, to your credit, you kind of said that there's like a little bit of a sour note that you picked up from like grape skin. There definitely is something sour, which is one of the reasons, again, I really like a White Port product, is White Port does pack a little bit of some sort of a punch or a little bit of a pucker factor to counterbalance some of the sweetness that comes across in a White Port. But then on top of that, you can tell that there's good, well-aged whiskey in this. Again, so once you get and you start diving a little bit deeper past just the White Port notes, you get the richness from that 75-21-4. So some of that rye spice comes across. There's good body in it as well. Corn sweetness brings sort of that taffy, that to vanilla, almost like caramel corn that plays well with those fruit notes of the White Port on it. And just a nice long finish that kind of goes all between the sweetness of White Port, some of that chocolate rich mocha kind of note, and also like ties in the spiciness of that 21% rye and that good aged whiskey as well. I think it drinks really full, really, really thick. I mean, it's still like sticking to the glass on here. The color is absolutely marvelous. It just looks really great. I think it's a really, really, really well done product.
Thank you.
I really can't add to that, Troy. I mean, seriously. I mean, there's nothing else I can add. I enjoy it. It tastes great. I love that little hint of sourness. It's not anything that's overwhelming, because I think when you start talking about whiskey having a little sour note to it, that some people will be like, oh, really? Thinking like a sour beer or something like that, but it's not anything like that. And it dissipates, and then like Matt said, you get that sweetness, the corn sweetness, and then you get that spiciness. And I like the way, to me, in my palate, it kind of jumps back and forth. It's like, ooh, there's sweetness, and then it's like, nope, there's spiciness, and then it goes back a little sweetness, and it just kept going back and forth. Nice long finish on this too. Again, 94 proof, but I think it tricks my palate to think it's a little bit higher proof than that, just because it's a little bit of a spiciness to it. But man, I really, really love it. Like Matt said, I mean, the color on it is just, I mean, it looks like it's a 15-year-old bourbon, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, the only thing, I mean, I can't really add much to that either, Matt, but what I typically get when it goes, and that sour it's not like when I mentioned sour before, like sometimes the malted barley, if it's too present in a particular batch, to me adds like almost a scotchy sourness.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what I don't love. This is more like, I don't want to say Sour Patch Kids, but it's the kind of sour that you like, right? That really, like you said, it puckers your mouth in that positive way. But it's just a little bit of it, and I think it does counter. But when I go from that like green grape skin, it gets very earthy for me, and I get a lot of like earthy tones and flavors, and then it becomes really nutty, especially on the finish, like a hazelnut almost on the finish is what I get a lot of that. And you mentioned the feel, but the mouthfeel on this, like every time. That was the thing that when we tasted it 9 months, we're like, oh my gosh, this has become so creamy and oily and just coats your tongue and just wonderful.
Oh yeah. So I'm taking away from that you're not a Scotch guy.
I don't want to, like, I have evolved a little bit. Like, there's definitely things that I like.
It's okay, Troy, because I hate Scotch.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're in good company if you're not one much.
Yeah,
no, I do not hate Scotch. There's only certain Scotches I like. Let's put it that way. I can't just drink any Scotch.
I have
a very snobby Scotch taste.
Yeah, that like a Highland Scotch, something really nice I can do. But those Islas, man, the peated stuff, you might as well just get it out of here.
Yeah, I can do a Lefroy, but it's got to be the last thing I drink that night because it's like drinking a cigar.
Yeah,
right.
Or a rubber boot, or a Band-Aid, or something else, right? So, but I'll stop talking bad about Scotch because I'm sure there's people that listen to this that enjoy their Scotch, and more power to you. You can have all of mine because I will not be drinking it, right? So
I never pronounce this right, but there's a Balvenie 21-year-old Portwood that I got as a gift from my girlfriend. When I was telling the story earlier, we've been together 6 years now, but when we first met, she didn't really know whiskey. And she said, oh, I'm going to buy him whiskey for his birthday. And she bought me that Scotch. And I was like, and it's not an inexpensive birthday gift. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, I love this. Thank you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And then I tasted it and I'm like, oh, I really like this. Right.
Oh, okay.
It's really good. So then I was able to explain to her and now she knows more about bourbon maybe than I do, because I taught her everything I possibly could, and she goes and studies and comes back, and she's an expert now.
Well, that's great. See, it's like becoming almost like a family affair, And you talk about having kids. One of these days your kids can come in too, right? And start.
Yeah, I was talking to my son the other day about it. He's a college basketball player, and he does not drink at all or do any of that. And I was like, I could give you a summer job selling for us, but you don't drink bourbon. I can't have you out there talking about bourbon if you don't drink it. And I don't need you to start drinking.
Yeah, right.
Wait.
Or standing at the display table and spitting out, right? Take a sip and be like, "This is really good," and
right.
That's not going to work. So we're getting close to the end of the third round here, Troy. So let's talk about the future a little bit. Let's talk about the brand. Anything coming up release wise? I mean, obviously you said you've got tons of ideas. Is there anything coming up over the next little bit that listeners can be on the lookout for?
We typically do 1 to 2 limited releases a year. We try and do one that's targeted for the fall, and then we've been trying to do a spring one. But because we expanded to so many states this year, so we were in 10 states in January of this year, and I think I mentioned earlier we're now in 19.
Wow.
And Texas is where we're launching right now. We're just starting to be on the shelves in Texas, and Texas is like 4 states in and of itself.
Yeah, that's a lot of orders right there.
So, right. It's a lot of product. And remember, all those states, we're new there. So suddenly we have 6 SKUs right now. So as a brand to go into those stores and say, hey, we're also coming out with something, we don't want to overwhelm them.
Yeah, sure.
And so, we're focused on those 6 SKUs right now. Depending on the expansion and how fast we work our way through some of that, there could be a spring release this year, or we may do our fall release in the spring because it takes so much time to sort of work its way in. But we had a fall release for this year.
Okay.
And the label is done, and I'm really excited. The story's done. I'm really excited about it, but we decided to wait and save it for next year.
So something listeners can look forward to hopefully seeing in the spring from you guys.
Yeah, exactly. But for now, look, we want everybody to come visit us on social media, Filmland Spirits.
Yeah.
On all the platforms, and sign up for our email list. And I'm in love with our consumer base and our audience because they're so dedicated and they're so loyal, and they're doing what I love. They're getting it. People dress up as our characters and post pictures of themselves.
That's awesome.
They put our bottles in their comic book rooms, and But the most important thing to me is people drink our stuff and they love it and they say wonderful things about it, and that makes this so much fun to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to feel good to say, hey, I had an idea and brought it from just an idea into actually something that exists, and people are actually responding positively to it. I mean, it's got to be a great feeling.
Yeah, I'm very much, I don't stop and reflect that way very often because I'm just, what's next? Keep going. Let's keep going.
Right.
And I'm very much a what have I done for me lately kind of person.
Sure.
Right.
Yep.
And so moments like this, I go, yeah, it's gratifying and it's humbling and it's so exciting, because I go, well, if this many thousands of people have said so many good things to us, think about how many more are going to say that when we get into everybody else's states and when people become aware of us.
Yeah. So any plans to maybe do your own stuff one of these days, or has that been talked about?
Yeah, sure. Hey, the original idea years ago was I was going to build a distillery in Los Angeles, right?
There you go.
And then I, those 3 or 4 months of research I did before this, I was like, yeah, I don't have $25 million before we can even break ground. So I'm not doing that, right? I want to do a brand. But I would love to. And we, as a bourbon nerd and a bourbon fan, the people that I have gotten to meet and the people that I've gotten to speak to and talk to about doing collaborations and having them distill for us, and having our names on the bottle with some of these luminaries is very exciting and humbling to me. And so I think before we would ever have our own distillery in the pure sense, there's some collaborations that I would love to do with those people where they're distilling and then we get to blend it together with them. We've talked about trying to, potentially open a tasting room in Louisville, which I know is very popular right now.
Yeah.
There's other places where we may end up with a home in Kentucky. That's my goal and my dream, is to have a home in Kentucky where we're collaborating with people, where there's some distilling going on that's specifically for us. But I'm not looking to start a distillery right now on my own. It's become so expensive, and there's so many people out there making amazing, great stuff, and people that I dreamed of working with, right, that I'm now getting to talk to about working with. That's the exciting part for me.
Well, I was going to ask you, I always ask my guests this question, kind of the final question. You probably just answered it, but I'll ask anyway. What's been the best part of this journey for you so far, Troy?
I would say it's, yes, what I just said, but I know this is going to sound hokey, but it's more so meeting people. I've hosted so many tastings, right? And I'm just a guy with a bin full of posters and postcards and signs, and I show up at a liquor barn in Kentucky, right? Or Specs in Texas, or whatever the case may be, and stand there at a table and complete strangers walk in and I say, hey, how'd you like to try some award-winning bourbon and rye? And they come over and go, what the heck is this? Right. And it's just, because you look at it and you go, some people immediately like, I love this. And some people like, is this for real? What is this? Right.
Yeah, right.
And then they taste our liquid. Right. And they go, oh my gosh, that's really good. Right. So the most gratifying moments for me, one happened today here in Michigan with a owner of a store. I walked in and he kind of gave me that skeptical look, right? Like, what is this? What is going on here? This goes back to that disruptive conversation. And I tell them the story and I explain this is genuine. We're real writers. We pour every ounce of creativity in this, but here, taste. And then they taste it and they look at me and they go, I was not planning to love this.
Yeah, right.
And I just absolutely love this. And then they won't stop talking. I have meetings where I walk in and the guy goes, people with 16 stores in Texas. And he goes, I got a half hour. That's it. 2 hours later, we're still sitting there talking because they loved it so much.
I mean, and that's it's just a testament to what you guys are doing. I mean, you believed in what you wanted to do and you followed through with that and followed your passion and turned it into something that's becoming very successful. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And people can find you guys. You mentioned you're on the social platforms, obviously, website as well.
Yeah, filmlandspirits.com.
Yeah.
And then Filmland Spirits on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. And we encourage people, obviously, to sign up for our email because we talk about things well in advance on our email.
Okay.
And there are opportunities you get on our email. And also, I'm running around all over the country and we're doing tastings and bottle signings. And of course, we have a whole events page on our website. But really, if email, Instagram, and Facebook, and you've got it covered with us. Yeah,
that sounds great. So, Troy, any final thoughts before we wrap it up here tonight?
No, I'm thinking, though, I should have said coming on podcasts like this are the most gratifying thing that's happened.
We won't hold it against you. I mean, it's okay, Troy.
I just, we're accessible. If you've got questions, reach out to me, reach out to any member of our team. I look at as much of our social media comments as I can and the DMs. I always read our DMs. So if you want to know something about Filmland, please come ask.
Awesome. Matt, any final thoughts before we wrap it up tonight, man?
Troy, thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule to sit down and chat with all of our listeners, chat with Mark and myself about what you're doing over at Filmland. It was great to hear about your story. Great to see how it all plays into the brand itself and to just try the uniqueness and the passion that you put into everything. So I'm really appreciative of that, and I had a really good time tonight. This was fun. You've really great products, a great story behind it, and you're a genuine person behind the brand as well. It's good to see.
Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I've had a great time also.
Yeah,
and thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And like I said, I hadn't tasted these until tonight, and I'm a fan. I mean, you got some great liquid in these bottles. Troy, I forgot to ask pricing wise, what are we looking at, just so people can have an idea?
Sure. Like we don't get to dictate the price to retail.
Sure. Yeah. Right.
But we say an SRP. So Moonlight Mayhem, 94 proof is $54.99.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. The two you have is Quadraforce is $59.99.
Okay.
And Moonlight Mayhem White Port Wolf is $64.99.
Okay. Which is, I mean, for a 7-year-old plus,
great pricing.
I mean, it really is. Plus the labeling and the pack and the bottles. I mean, we didn't even talk about the bottles, man, but the bottles are beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, sorry I forgot to talk about that, but they're beautiful.
No, that's okay. We price it as aggressively as we can because we want as many people to have it. If I could price it less, I would. I just, I have to stay in business.
Yeah.
But we try and be as aggressive, and we're always figuring out ways to not sacrifice quality, but come at it, less expensively.
Yeah. Well, man, we appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight, being on the road, working and everything, and taking the time out to hang out with two guys in Kentucky. We appreciate that. Thanks for.
And I would love to be there in person with you.
We will do that, man. We'll make that happen for sure. We'd love to do that. So thanks for joining us tonight. And to you, our listeners, thank you for joining us as well. Like Matt always says, whatever time of day it is, morning, noon, or night, whenever it is you get your Bourbon Life fix, we appreciate you taking the time and listening in what we're doing here. We also, again, want to thank all of our sponsors. So thank them for everything that they do. For our listeners out there, you guys can find us on Facebook and Instagram as well, and YouTube, of course. We're at the Bourbon Life, and we also have our private Facebook group, the Bourbon Lifers. So feel free to jump in there, join the conversation, have some fun with us. We'd love to have you guys in there. Don't forget about our good friend Mike, Big Chief, that does the Whiskey Trip podcast. His show comes out every Tuesday under our umbrella, so you can find a new episode from Mike every Tuesday. He's also on Facebook and Instagram as the Whiskey Trip, so give him a like and a follow. I'm sure he would really appreciate that. With that said, I'm going to wrap it up, send us home with our tagline, which is, may your glasses always be full, and may you keep on living the bourbon life.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. Our mission at the Bourbon Life is simple: to share our passion for all things bourbon with you every week. And we'd really love to hear your thoughts on how we're doing. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at The Bourbon Life. You can also contact us by email at thebourbonlife@gmail.com. And you can always find us on your favorite podcast platform. If you have a moment, we'd love it if you would rate us and give us a review. So until next week, we hope your glass is always full and that you keep on living the bourbon life.